Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us again tonight here in our YouTube channel. I'm Darcy Furness, the nutritionist in the South Surrey location, and we're delighted to tell you that we're back on with full nutrition services. If you'd like to take advantage of our free offerings, you can either email nutrition@choicesmarkets.com, or you can reach out to the store nearest you and you'll be connected with the nutritionist in that location. So tonight, as most of you know, we have a nutrition coupon we're going to be sending you, and the details to get that will be sent to you around 8:30 in our survey email. To stay in touch with all things healthy, we encourage you to sign up for our newsletter, www.choicesmarkets.com, and you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. It's nice to get our information in your mailbox because you find out about our great sales and also our buy one, get one free sales, which can be really great. And tonight you're going to be using YouTube chat if you have any questions to ask, and you'll need to have signed into your own account for that. And don't worry if you're not in your own account and you have a question that goes unanswered. I'll be leaving Dr. Rory's website information in the chat function. You can reach out to him directly. He's also offering what he calls an alignment visit. And these are really wonderful opportunities to get to know a naturopathic doctor a little bit and get a sense if you would be a good fit working together. These are things that we can never do with our general practitioners. So I encourage you to give this some thought if you're new to naturopathic medicine. And I'll put that information also into the chat function, so you'll have access to that. Our presentation is going to go around 45 minutes to an hour. If you have any questions that are popping up, just make a note of it. And you can also type them into chat. I'm going to feed through afterwards and help Dr. Rory sort of organize them so he can answer them for us. So Dr. Rory Gibbons is a naturopathic doctor who is trained at the Boucher Institute here in BC. And he has really narrowed his practice focus to something he's extremely passionate about: fatherhood. And he's got a couple young kids, and I'll let him tell you some fun stories about that. He works with dads around the province to improve energy, digestion, sleep, aging, and libido. Tonight, he'll be talking about and answering questions about what really robs our energy. And this is something that's so important to so many people, particularly parents. And tonight, it's really nice to have a focus on male health. We don't do this very often, so we're really pleased to be doing it. He'll be covering hormones, nutrients, blood sugar, and you can expect to take away some concrete information on how you can help get your energy back. So let's welcome Dr. Rory, and I will see you at the end of his presentation to answer questions. So enjoy. Okay.
Thank you very much, Darcy. I really appreciate the wonderful introduction, and I'm excited to be back with Choices and doing another webinar for these guys. I love that grocery store. Yeah, I usually spend most of my time in the supplement aisles, browsing, seeing what's new on the shelves. I'm really excited to talk about this topic tonight: energy for men. And if you are a woman attending this webinar, some of these things may be very relevant to you as well, and some of the principles might be very relevant. So just to touch on what Darcy was saying about that alignment visit, it's a really great opportunity to meet me one-on-one. We meet kind of like this through a video platform, and we just kind of get to know each other. I get to tell you what I do and why I do it, and we can talk about any general things. And it's really a unique opportunity to see if you're the right fit. So not many practitioners, at least general practitioners, offer this because they're so busy. We're so busy too, but I also really appreciate getting the right fit and having the right fit for the patient too. So if you come to me and I'm like, I don't really deal with that certain condition, or there's some something that's telling me that you'd be a better fit with another colleague of mine, then I'm going to make that referral to you right up front, because I'm going to get you in the right place or as early as possible. So just a quick little thing here. Today you're attending this webinar with me for educational purposes only. I'm not giving any medical advice, and you being here tonight doesn't mean that we are establishing a patient-doctor relationship. However, I'm going to give you some information at the end so you can learn how to get in touch with me, either for a visit or an email. Okay. So Darcy did a wonderful job introducing me. I am a naturopathic doctor. I'm licensed in British Columbia, and I run a clinic called Virtual Health Collective with my wife, Dr. Ali Power, who has a very narrow focus in basically momhood, motherhood. And so she sees moms that are trying to get pregnant and through supports them through pregnancy and postpartum care, which we know is a very long, long process postpartum. It's not just it's not just 6 weeks after. It goes a long time after that. And I usually will help the male counterpart. So focused, I do have a focus in men's health, and my practice right now is almost exclusively all men, and it's great. I loved seeing these men coming to me, and they're motivated to become stronger and healthier and live a more vibrant life for longer. And it's for themselves, but it's also for the people around them. And that's why I'm really passionate about what I do, is because I'm living it right now. I'm living it. I am a new dad. I have a 3.5-year-old and a 1-year-old. So if you guys are out there, you're like, yeah, I get it. I slept in on Father's Day till 7. It was amazing. And every other day it's been, waking up between 5 and 6 and hanging out with my kids and getting them breakfast and doing the things. And that's, I'm going to talk about habits at kind of towards the end. And that is one thing that has been really, really helpful for me, is getting routine, getting habits, and the kids really enjoy that too. So here are some things that I see on the regular comments that come up in our, or regular concerns that come up in our visits with my male patients. They come in, I'm tired, low energy, low libido. Doesn't usually come up as a concern, but it's usually a byproduct. And when I ask about it, it's there. So low libido, fertility concerns is a very common one that I am seeing lately. And we run sperm tests and we check out, how the sperm health is. And so generally, when I'm doing a fertility consult, the female counterpart is seeing Dr. Ali, and we get to work together as a couple to support this couple. And it is just the best when we make an impact and they get pregnant. Mood, depression, and anxiety is just running rampant right now, and it's just on the rise. It's so sad. With the state of the world that we're in, and the state of the country, and during this pandemic has taken a really, really big toll on people's mental health. And I can support you through that. And honestly, low energy goes along with depression, but also goes along with anxiety. And those two can coexist. Weight gain and inability to lose weight. Yep, this is something I'm seeing very often. We're going to talk about something called metabolic syndrome in a little bit here. And that has been kind of on the rise too through the pandemic. Habits are changing. People are less active. There was a time where we weren't able to leave our house, didn't really know what to do. So we become sedentary. It took a toll on a lot of people. Blood sugar metabolism issues, pre-diabetes and diabetes. These are some things that are lurking in a lot of people, and they don't really know it. And so hopefully I'm going to I will shed some light on what to look for to see if blood sugar metabolism is an issue for you. Okay, so how I'm going to group this is we're going to talk about a hormone or a mechanism or a nutrient, and we're going to talk about what that looks like if it's malfunctioning and how to test it. Okay, and then at the end we'll talk about how to correct it. So, energy. Low energy can come in many shapes and forms. Okay, and it can be different from one man to another. Okay, one person to another person. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. It can look very different, but we label it as low energy. So here are some things that I see. It's certainly not an exhaustive list. People come to see me for low energy, but really what they have going on is one of these things. So sleepy and groggy, one of these things, okay? Lack of motivation, brain fog, low libido, afternoon crashes, but all I see in the concern is low energy. So there's a lot of unpacking that we do in our visits. Low mood, erectile difficulties can be there, irritability, feelings of sadness, sugar cravings, and low exercise tolerance. One or all of these can be present. And we're going to kind of dive into what might be going on causing these things. So where do we start? Okay, so this is a good point. Like, oh, I have low energy. Okay, so what do I do? Along with a doctor who is there to listen to your concerns and learn about your personal history, you need to get some lab work done. Okay, so we need to get a baseline, rule some things in, rule some things out. So getting objective measures in the form of blood work gives us two things. Okay, first one, a confirmation as to what may be causing low energy or what is not causing it. All right, and two, a number to compare future blood work to gauge progress. Hopefully progress and not regress. I love blood work. I have some really good like go-to panels that I offer through Life Labs. It's just, it looks the same as you would get from a conventional medicine doctor. They write you a requisition, you go to Life Labs, you get it done. The payment is just a little bit different. First thing, let's talk about what could be robbing you of your energy: gut health. And I put in bold here, you are what you absorbed. And that is so true. You've heard the term, you are what you eat. Okay, and we'll see why that may not be exactly accurate. So digestive health is something that is of great importance to energy production and energy leaks. Okay, so if we don't have a properly functioning digestive system, how are we supposed to absorb nutrients and utilize nutrients that we take in supplemental form? Okay, the digestive system is a place where we get fuel from, where we absorb nutrition from. Okay, so you eat an apple, there's things in there: fiber, vitamin C, water, carbohydrates. Those things we take in, digest them, absorb them, use them. Okay, so if your digestive system is not functioning very well, then you may not be absorbing as much nutrition as we should be. Okay, so now you can see you are what you eat. Maybe it's like you are what you absorb. Okay, so the key thing is understanding what is causing the digestive upset, if you do have upset. Okay, so is this chronic stress related, a gut infection like H. pylori, or a parasite, or just a general imbalance in your gut bugs that has been kind of changing over the last X number of years? Or is it poor food choices? Or is it all of the above? And yes, it can be all of the above. And if you are having a digestive issues like IBS, it's most likely affected by chronic stress. Digestive dysfunction can also be a result of a hormonal imbalance, okay, and which we'll talk about in a moment. So if you're someone that experiences symptoms such as the ones on the screen here, constipation and or diarrhea, those two can exist at the same time. It can be sometimes difficult to determine which one's there or if they're both there. Gas or bloating, okay, heartburn or reflux, abdominal pain, okay, any of these things, then something's going on in there. Something's going on in there. We want to take a look, because that is a big piece of the puzzle. Testosterone. Okay, so men, this is like when someone reads this sentence, men and hormones, with the words men and hormones in one sentence, they go testosterone. And fair enough. Testosterone is a big topic in male health, and rightly so. It's our main hormone, like our main sex hormone that makes us male, right? And so often men will come to me feeling tired, and then after asking some more pointed questions, I begin to suspect that testosterone may be a concern. Okay, so that's where the history taking comes into play. Okay, so here are some really common symptoms that come up when speaking of low testosterone. Okay, so low libido, right? We kind of know what that means. Erectile difficulty. So this includes difficulty getting an erection and maintaining an erection, and also finishing. Okay, low motivation and or depressed mood and or fatigue, right? Infertility. So this is this can exist by itself. Okay, so you don't have any erectile dysfunction. You have libido is fine, but testosterone is actually a little low. Okay, so it's a really strange paradox. So you need someone to kind of weed out the questions and get to the root of it. Muscle wasting and loss of strength. This is kind of like a cyclical thing. So muscle wasting, so low testosterone can lead to less muscle and loss of strength due to less muscle. However, when you build muscle, you build strength, and also it helps support testosterone production. So that's a pretty profound thing. And you'll probably see at the end, we're going to talk about strength training a little bit. Decrease in spontaneous and morning erections. Morning erections. This is a sign. Sorry, lack of morning erections is a sign of low testosterone, because testosterone is highest in the morning and it kind of tapers down throughout the day. That's the general pattern. So when we are looking to test testosterone, I always test total testosterone and something called bioavailable testosterone. If you go to your medical doctor, you'll probably get total testosterone, which is a great start. Absolutely. It doesn't always give us the full testosterone picture. So that's why I like to run bioavailable, just because it gives us a little bit more, not a little bit more, a lot more information about how much testosterone you can actually make or use, but also what else might be going on in that hormone cascade. Thyroid hormone. So this is a good one. Thyroid, in regards to energy, we are referring to hypothyroidism, so under-functioning thyroid. A common term that you may have heard is Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is an autoimmune thyroid disease. So hypothyroid is more common in women, but it still can affect men. Okay, so it's worth a conversation, and some really pointed questions. Okay, so someone with hypothyroidism may feel the following: so cold intolerance and or reduced sweating. Okay, so cold intolerance, you go to a party and everyone's wearing t-shirts and you're in a parka. Okay, we're in a sweater. You're like, why is everyone okay in this? It's cold in here. Or you hate winter because it's really cold, and maybe that's not a very good example, but generally you're more cold than the norm. Okay, you are gaining weight, or you're having trouble losing weight. So this is a sign that your metabolism is low. Okay, thyroid may be a contributor here. Exercise intolerance, in other words, shortness of breath. This is the main kind of exercise intolerance. Slow heart rate, also connected to low thyroid function, because thyroid is our metabolic driver. Dry skin, constipation. Constipation is an interesting one because it kind of makes sense. Like if you have a low metabolism, everything's moving slower, including your gut. And the flip side is true too. When you have a hyper functioning thyroid, you have fast bowel movements. You're having like a bowel movements every like 6 hours, boom, or it's moving really quickly and it's usually loose. Low mood and erectile dysfunction. That's an interesting one. So erectile dysfunction also correlated with low functioning thyroid as well as testosterone. Okay, and blood sugar, which is on the next slide. So when we're testing thyroid, every one of my patients, if they haven't had thyroid tested in the last year, I'll test it. And the one that I'm testing is this TSH. Okay, so if the person is coming to me with low energy and they're checking a couple of these boxes, I'll run TSH. If they're checking a bunch of these boxes, I'm going to run TSH, T3, T4, and anti-TPO. All right. And so the TSH is an interesting marker because it's actually not coming from the thyroid. It's a marker from the brain to the thyroid stimulating hormone. And so if the thyroid stimulating hormone is high, okay, it's under functioning. The thyroid is under functioning. Basically, the brain is yelling at the thyroid, hey, make some thyroid, and it's like screaming at it. That's why it's so high. And so that's where running T3 and T4 and TPO is really helpful, because T3 and T4 are the actual hormones produced by the thyroid gland. TPO is an autoimmune component of that lab work. And so I like to run all of it if possible. It gives me a great understanding of what's happening there. Thyroid might be a problem for you, may not be. So blood sugars, I'm seeing a lot of blood sugar dysregulation lately, the last 4 years. And most of my male patients are dealing with some sort of blood sugar dysregulation. So what does this mean, and what does it look like when it comes to low energy? And so energy crashes after meals. This is such a classic symptom of your inability to deal with blood sugar. Okay. So if you, for instance, you have for lunch, you have a sandwich, 2 pieces of sourdough bread. Okay. You have 2 slices of turkey, a little bit of mayo in there, and a tomato and some cucumber. Okay. Okay, sweet. That's not bad. And then you have a small bag of chips on the side. Okay. And then you have, say, a can of Coke for your drink. Okay. So we got a bunch of carbohydrates there, which turn into sugar. And then your blood glucose goes up and you feel good. And you're like, okay, sweet. I have energy. It rushes up, and then insulin comes out and brings it down. And your energy just goes, poof, just crashes. And that's where blood sugar just crashes and your energy just crashes. Carb coma, it's a thing. Metabolic syndrome, I mentioned this earlier. So metabolic syndrome is a combination of 3 things: being overweight, having cholesterol that is unregulated. So LDL cholesterol would be high, and triglycerides may or may not be high as well, and high blood pressure. And so these 3 things go together and then become the metabolic syndrome. And let's talk about the connection between blood sugar and cholesterol. Okay, so we just talked about blood sugar, but then suddenly I'm talking about cholesterol, which can be confusing. They are related. Okay, when you have blood sugar floating around that you're not dealing with, can't use because you're becoming insulin resistant, okay, that blood sugar has to go somewhere. So it goes to the liver, and the liver takes it, packages it up into something called triglycerides, and packages it onto a little protein called low density lipoprotein, or your LDL. And then that goes to your storage fat, and then you get fat. Okay, so that's what's happening. You can even add in metabolic syndrome like insulin resistance or diabetes. So that's how blood sugar and cholesterol are related. You can whip that out at a party. Very fun. So what else can be causing this blood sugar dysregulation? A diet that's high in processed and refined food. Really interesting. People with blood sugar dysregulation and or diabetes, they can have skin tags. Skin tags are these little bumps of skin that protrude up, and they can be anywhere between 2 millimeters and 6 millimeters in length, and they're just benign little skin tags. Sometimes people get them here or around their ears, and it can be a sign. Another skin sign of blood sugar dysregulation is something called acanthosis nigricans. It's a velvety dark skin that is growing under the armpits and in the groin and on neck folds, kind of go right up here. And I don't remember why that happens, but it happens. Irritability, why don't we just change that to hangriness? Okay, so your blood sugar comes down, and then you get annoyed because you need food, right? Your brain is saying, get out of my way. I don't care about anything else. I need food now. And then lastly on the list, erectile difficulty. So this is more happening in people with diabetes, where they're having some vascular damage in the groin, in the reproductive organs. And when you get an erection, that is due to blood flow. And so when you have vascular damage due to blood sugar, unmanaged blood sugar, you can have erectile difficulty. Yes, Viagra is going to help. Yes, Cialis will help. However, that is not dealing with blood sugar issues. We need to get that figured out, because it will result in damage elsewhere in your body. What do we do to test? Fasting blood glucose and hemoglobin A1C are very classic markers that we look at, that your doctor will look at. I also really love running fasting insulin, because it gives me kind of a preamble as to where you are in regards to developing diabetes if you're not there yet. Okay, so because insulin starts getting higher before these other markers start getting out of range, and that's telling me we're getting there earlier. We're catching this insulin resistance earlier than getting diabetes. This is one of these situations where it doesn't matter who is watching, who you're talking to, we can all deal with blood sugar regulation, blood sugar tips, because sugar is everywhere. It's crazy. You go out for dinner and you have a sauce and it's sugar-based, ketchup, it's glucose. Maybe this is a good opportunity to talk about like what sugars look like on packages. So they don't say sugar. Sometimes I think my ketchup bottle actually upstairs says tomatoes, liquid sugar, glucose. So there's two sources of sugar in there: liquid glucose, liquid sugar, and glucose. It also looks like fructose, glucose, fructose, corn syrup. Okay, those things are all code word for sugar. It hides sauces, anything processed in a package very often will be higher in sugar than any other food of that kind. Nutrients. So iron is such a great nutrient for energy because of its relationship with the protein called hemoglobin. Okay, so hemoglobin is a protein, like I said, it carries oxygen. And so if we do not have iron, which is at the center of a hemoglobin molecule, then we don't have hemoglobin. Then we have difficulty hauling around oxygen to our cells to make energy, because oxygen is a very important molecule to make energy. Okay, the actual physical energy, which is called ATP. People that come to me with low energy and say, maybe it's my iron, I don't know, they will feel the following things: fatigue, shortness of breath on exertion. So what does this mean? Walking up the stairs and you're out of breath. Okay, or carrying groceries to your car and you're out of breath. So anything that is, a little bit of exertion that's more than your normal, you get short of breath. Feeling faint due to not enough oxygen going to your brain. There could be blood in the stool, which is telling me there's a bleed. Okay, so even though you don't have red in the stool, you might if it's a lower bleed, like in the rectum or in the lower colon. It might be a bleed. But if it's a bleed that is higher up in the GI system, that blood will turn black. Okay, and your stool will look black. The best way to test that is something called a fecal immunochemical test, or a FIT test. It used to be called a blood occult test, but now it's a FIT test. It's just an easy, quick poop test. You go to Life Labs, pick it up, or I write the requisition for it, and you go to Life Labs, pick up the kit, go home, do the sample, come back, and they analyze it, and I get the results. Let me see if you have poop or blood in your stool. Another symptom: pale skin. So blood, when someone has pale skin, there's less blood circulation going to their skin. That's an indicator. And even in the whites of your eyes, like underneath here, called the conjunctiva. If that is pale, then that can be an indication of low iron. Cold hands and feet is another indication of low iron, also low thyroid. So just a note on this. So iron deficiency in men is low. Okay, the probability of it is low. In the US, 1% of men under 50 have iron deficiency. So it's a pretty small percentage. Usually this is seen in a woman due to a monthly menstrual cycle. However, if low iron is coming up on a man, it's a red flag for me, because it may be an indication that there is a bleed happening, like I mentioned earlier, or something more serious is happening that deems further testing and imaging. So when I test this, I usually look at ferritin, which is a marker for storage iron, and something called CBC with diff. And that is just a look at your red blood cells. Anemia shows up in your red blood cells. Sleep. So this is a great topic, sleep, especially for my new dads. They're like, what do you mean sleep? We have small kids. We don't sleep. But let's talk about sleep apnea. Okay. Sleeping because you have kids, one thing, but sleep apnea is definitely another. So what does it look like? It looks like excessive daytime sleepiness. Okay. You sleep at night, but you're so tired you're falling asleep during the day. Okay. Yeah. So this, like, how do you explain this? It's hard it's difficult to quantify this, but if you are falling asleep in the middle of the day or struggling to stay awake in meetings or at work, then we need to investigate sleep apnea. Okay. Loud snoring. This is observed by a sleeping partner. Okay. Episodes where you stop breathing. This is also observed by a sleeping partner. Waking up with dry mouth. Okay. Gasping for air when you're sleeping. Okay. So often, I'm finding often patients are kind of written off from having sleep apnea strictly based on their body composition, which is really interesting. You're like, oh, sleep apnea usually only happens in big people and overweight people. But people who are thin can have sleep apnea too. Like that have normal body weight can have sleep apnea as well. It's not just due to being overweight. There's truth in that, where there's a lot of mass on the upper body, a lot of extra fat mass, and when you're lying down, it presses on your lungs and on your trachea, and that can affect your ability to breathe. So yes, there's truth in that, but there's also other causes of sleep apnea that are happening to people that are thin. The only way to kind of get diagnosed with this is going to a sleep clinic. Okay, so the first one that comes to mind, I can never forget the name. It's called Snore MD. They're kind of dotted around the province. If you need a requisition and you don't have a GP, just go there. They have a doctor on staff that can help you with that. Or you can ask your GP or ask me to get a sleep apnea requisition. You just have to be a patient, obviously. Okay. Mood and burnout. So here's a term that people are hearing more often. Burnout. Rates of burnout are high in the hospital. Rates of burnouts where the nurses are very high. And it's true. So here's a term that was coined in the 1970s amongst the medical community. Okay. So this term was usually given to physicians in the hospitals who started having lower patient satisfaction scores, lower care quality, higher medical errors, higher staff turnover, and even substance abuse and suicide. Okay. But what we know now is that anyone can experience this in any field of work because we're all humans. Okay. There are loosely three main categories here. So first one, exhaustion. Okay. So you're feeling drained, emotionally exhausted, unable to cope, tired, and down. Does anybody feel like that? I want you to think, how did I feel today? Do I feel drained? Do I feel emotionally spent? You just can't tolerate any any other BS or confrontation, you may be heading towards burnout, or they're already unable to cope. Okay, this is, this term, unable to cope, I see this come up with people that are suffering from depression and anxiety. And they're like, they don't come out and say like, I can't cope, but they're burying feelings down and they can't deal with it. They're not dealing with the things that are stressing them out. It's coming out in depression and anxiety related symptoms. Another main category, alienation from work-related activities. So people find their jobs stressful and frustrating. They may even feel cynical about their work environment and their colleagues. Maybe they didn't start out like that, but it's wearing on them every day, wearing them down and down. And as a result, they start distancing themselves from work. Okay. I've even had situations where people they will stop parking in their usual parking spot because they don't want to see the regular people. They go park on the road and they will come in the back door and sneak into work to avoid any social interaction, regardless if it's negative or positive. They just don't want anything to do with it. They just want to do their job, get in, get out. And usually during that time when they're at work, they're not very happy or they're cynical. Reduced performance. So mainly in regards to everyday tasks at work, home, or caring for a family member. That's also, people can experience burnout from caring for a family member. For instance, having a full-time job and then coming home and caring for a family member. That is stressful. Just caring for a person is stressful, but caring for a member of your family is even more. Can be even more. We can only give so much. We give and give and give and give and give. But if we are not filling our cup up, we are just burning out. Is ring a bell? Anybody? So testing for this, there's some questionnaires out there, and there are some other, maybe some other practitioners that claim to be able to quantify burnout, but so far the data says that there is not really much that you can do to quantify burnout. But do you really need to? Like, if you do a good history and you run some blood work to make sure everything else is in check, then let's make that diagnosis. It's not even a diagnosis. Let's make that kind of working diagnosis and start doing things for yourself to pull you out of burnout. So, I said this before, but a really important thing to remember here is that often depression overlaps burnout. Okay, so depression and anxiety, usually a symptom of something else going on, and this can certainly be the thing. Job change may be my main recommendation, or a change of relationship. Those are hard recommendations to make. Recommending magnesium or vitamin C to someone is one thing, but saying, have you thought about a different job? Have you thought about a different career? Have you thought about a different life partner? Like, those are really difficult conversations to have. Luckily, I don't have to have that many. So what can we do? Let's talk about it. Man, this is going to be a great slide for people. And we're going to have this recorded, so you'll be able to check it out on YouTube as well. So nutrition and blood sugar optimization. This is an excellent place for everyone to start. Okay, so even if you feel like you eat well, or your partner feeds you well, or I eat healthy, which maybe you do, maybe you don't, I want you to conduct a little audit and see if what I'm saying lines up with what you're eating and lines up with what I'm suggesting. Okay, so basically, we need to prioritize healthy fats, proteins, and fibrous vegetables. Fat, fiber, protein. Okay, we need to prioritize healthy fats, proteins, and fibrous vegetables. If you get one thing out of this presentation, fat, fiber, protein with every meal. Sources of healthy fats are omega-3 rich ones. Okay, olive oil, avocado oil, fish, flaxseed, chia, Okay, those are some examples of omega-3 fatty acids. We need fats for hormone production. We need healthy fats for inflammation control. And this is not something I'm theorizing. This is a documented biochemical biochemical pathway. So lean proteins, what does that look like? Poultry, eggs, fish, beans, legumes, all great choices. Red meats, occasionally not a bad thing. Just get them locally sourced. Get a good cut of meat and really enjoy it. Why not? If you are exercising and controlling blood sugars, having red meat once in a while is not a bad thing. Okay. Sometimes difficult to understand what fibrous vegetables are. Okay, so an easy rule: any vegetable that grows above the ground is considered higher in fiber than the ones that grow below the ground. I'm going to say that one more time. Anything that grows above the ground, fibrous vegetable. Anything that grows below, not non-fibrous or less fibrous. So think about stuff growing below. Yams, sweet potatoes, pretty starchy. They metabolize into blood sugars pretty quickly. Anything above, things like broccoli, cauliflower, kale, spinach, green onions, those types of things, all pretty fibrous in nature. Greens, eat your greens. When we include healthy fats, proteins, and fibrous veg, we utilize these nutrients more slowly, longer, and more consistently, as opposed to eating a big starchy meal, like I said earlier, feeling energized, and then crashing 30 minutes later. So I heard someone on a podcast one time say, eat carbohydrates, but dress them up with proteins and fats. Okay, so you can utilize the nutrients for longer and you don't get these crashes. Sleep. Every single patient gets sleep advice from me, but the trick is you have to do it in order to see the benefits. So dark room, okay, when you get as dark as possible. So ideally not able to see the furniture. That can be tough to do, but like make that your goal. Make it super dark. Get some blackout curtains. We got some from Home Depot. They're pretty cheap, easy to install. Get it done. Get it dark. And if you can't, consider an eye mask. Get your room cool. So between 18 and 21 degrees centigrade, it's cool enough for you to want to get under the covers. Consistent bedtime and wake time. Okay. Go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time. Research suggests that doing this will regulate your cortisol release. And so when you do that, cortisol will be lower at the end of the evening and higher in the morning. Okay, so cortisol and melatonin, they have this inverse relationship. Melatonin, everyone's like, oh, melatonin. Right, melatonin, it comes in capsules. Yes, it comes in capsules, but it's also released from a gland in your brain. Okay, and cortisol tells that gland to be quiet, not secrete melatonin, because we want to stay up. Okay, so we want to control cortisol release so melatonin can do its job and get you to sleep. Okay, I'm not averse to using melatonin in practice to get people sleeping, but we also have to do those lifestyle things to bring down cortisol. Avoid drinking stimulants in the afternoon. Pretty self-explanatory. Okay, don't drink something that's going to fire you up. Avoid screens. So interesting thing, we thought that blue light was the thing keeping us awake and suppressing the melatonin release. However, now we know it's just light in general. Okay, try to get dimmer lights and start turning them down in the evening, or get some small corner lamps and turn those babies on. I like replacing all of the white light bulbs in my house with yellow ones. Not yellow ones, but the soft lights. And exercise. So exercise is good. It helps you sleep, but try to avoid the rigorous exercise prior to bed. That's a good segue. So exercise literally gives us energy in the form of endorphins. Okay, so they are natural stimulant and painkiller. Okay, so we're looking to get some more energy. Exercise will give you energy. Okay, strength training, specifically strength training. Everyone should be on a resistance training program. I don't care what your excuse is, you can do it. Okay. It improves almost every marker of wellness in your body. Okay. So if you are someone with low testosterone, it brings it up. If you are someone with blood sugar issues, your muscles eat the blood sugar. So if you're someone who has low self-esteem, it can improve your mood and your view of yourself and your body. And the best thing here is to hire someone that can help you get a routine and teach you how to work out safely, right? So personal trainer would be very helpful. Even nutrition coaches are helpful right now. A quick little like personal anecdote. I've been working with a nutrition coach and I meet with him every 2 weeks. We talk about nutrition, but we actually talk about routines and habits way more. And so right now I am doing an exercise challenge where I'm working out 4 minutes per day. Okay. 4 minutes per day. That's it. And I have 4 exercises that I do in sequence for 4 minutes. And when 4 minutes is done, I hit stop. Doesn't matter if I've gotten through 3 sets or 2. If 4 minutes is up, it's done. It is life-changing. I feel so good. And at 4 minutes a day, I think I should make a program called 4 minutes a day to a better body. It is fantastic. So if you're looking to improve habits, a good resource is Atomic Habits by James Clear. It is a great one. Another great resource for exercise is the Big Book of Exercise by Men's Health. There's some really great exercises in there and exercise programs, good descriptions and pictures. However, getting another set of eyes on your body to make sure you're doing them correctly, doing the exercise correctly is just so valuable. Last couple things here, gut. What can we do here to help heal the gut up? Avoid refined sugars is one huge thing. It just doesn't do good things to our gut. It creates a local inflammation up against the gut wall and then a local immune response, which can lead to sensitivities with foods. It can be a type of energy leak. Okay, so find out if there are any gut infections that could be a cause of your energy problems. Okay, so running functional stool tests can be very helpful to see what type of bacteria, viruses, fungus, or parasites may be taking up space in there. Then deal with them. Okay, so what's a functional stool test? Something that you can't get through your medical doctor. Honestly, it's a stool test that will give you a printout of what kind of gut bugs are in there, how much is in there, if there's any parasites, any H. pylori, any fungus, like candida, those types of things. You can get, stool tests for your medical doctor, is a little bit more specific to parasites. What else can you do? Eating fibrous foods and drinking adequate water will help you move stool through the gut. Okay, get your gut moving. Everyone feels more vibrant when they are having regular poos. That's just clinically what I see. And I'm pretty sure, I don't think people will argue that one. And lastly, kind of alluded to it throughout this entire presentation, get some lab work done. Let's do it. Get some numbers so we can work on them and use them as a baseline. I have people that get panels done every 6 months, 6 to 8 months, because it keeps them on track and gives them peace of mind that what they are doing is helpful. Okay, I love those check marks. Be like, cholesterol is still improving, that kind of mentality. And I wanted to add that having someone on your team that values preventative medicine is an asset. So why not have someone like me that wants you to live a long and vital life, as well as wants you to feel better as soon as possible. Okay, that's where naturopathic medicine really hits the road, is preventative medicine. And guys are just in general, okay, we are not good at seeking help and seeking health care until something bad happens. So let's get there before something bad happens. There's some cheap and simple tests, and doing a health investment of $500 to $1,000 is not that much to see where you're at and where you're going. Okay, and I can make that happen. That is bringing us to this one. So thank you so much for listening to this presentation today. I really appreciate your motivation to be healthier human beings for yourself and the people around you. Let's take some questions. Darcy, come on back.
Here I am. Thank you very much, Dr. Roy. That was great. I just love how you talked about your 4-minute exercise routine, because
Thank you.
I think
Yes.
so many of us, we set these goals for ourselves and we just bite off way too much. And it's these incremental tiny changes that are life changing. And
Yeah.
you don't have a choice right now with your life, with your babies, and
Right.
but you know what? It's every little bit, right? So I think that's a really important tip for people. You don't have to do everything all at once.
No.
It's these small incremental things. And I also love James Clear, Atomic Habits. I get that in my
Yeah.
email, and I wrote that down for our viewers tonight, because that's a very good thing to read.
Yeah.
So if anybody has any questions, go ahead and type them in. And I've got a couple that I thought I might start off with, if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
So just with respect to aging, because I'm got a few years on you, my husband has a bunch more years on you too. And I'm just curious about, a lot of our customers in my location are a bit older. And how do we tangle out what we call normal aging, from something that may be physically happening and something that might be fixable from an energy point of view? Because I see people all the time, they go, well, I'm not doing too badly for 75. And so how do you tangle that out? What's normal, what's not normal?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what's normal, what's not normal? Like a normal, there's how do I put this? You can age gracefully. Okay. Like adopting fundamental health principles, even as an elderly person, can help you age gracefully. And what I mean by that is your memory is sharp. Okay. You are able to walk without assistance. Okay. And the first thing that's just coming to mind right now is strength training. And this doesn't mean you have to start when you're in your younger years. You can start at 70. You can start at 80. Okay. Obviously get help if you're going to do that. Make sure you're doing it safely. But that will help in so many aspects of an elderly person's life. Absolutely. I feel like I'm maybe not answering the question properly.
No, I think you are. And I think what we're sort of saying is that don't think that aging means we have to really slow down.
No.
So I think that's, we live in a society where we're all like, well, we're getting old. Remember that, what do they say? 60 is the new 40. I like to cling to that. But it is interesting. So I think it's worth it checking things out, isn't it? And just don't take things for granted. We can have a lot more energy once we understand the basics. And why don't we just shoot for higher and shoot for more, right? So
yeah,
sort of
absolutely.
go there.
That's a great point. And that's a good kind of, I wanted to bring up one thing. Actually, I have a group of patients right now that are all between 55 and 70 men. And we're all working on cardiovascular health with them. And they're also different. Okay. So like I have a couple people that, their cardiovascular profile is quite high risk. Okay. But at the same age, someone else, their cardiovascular profile is not. And so if you look at these two people, there are certain lifestyle and dietary things that they did in their younger life and are still doing that are contributing to their negative cardiovascular profile, or negative and positive, right? And so, but that being said, they can do things to improve their health still at 65. Like it just breaks my heart when people are like, oh, well, I'm 65 now, I'm over the hill, like kind of life's over. No, it's not. Like, it is not over.
It's so true.
No,
I think it's important to kind of ward off chronic disease, isn't it? Like, we don't really want to, we'd ideally not live with chronic disease. We sort of ward it off as long as we can. I think that's sort of the goal too. So that's encouraging that you can work with people like that and just, keep giving them, more opportunities to keep that vitality and keep that youthful approach to life. Absolutely. And the strength thing is so important, isn't it? Because aren't falls one of the major causes of deaths among seniors?
Yes.
Then
it's so true. Like, falls are a major contributor to the decline of health in the elderly population.
So interesting. Like, not even that old, really. They say over like 60, 65, which
right,
doesn't seem very old to me.
Which is shocking. And when you adopt an active lifestyle, it doesn't even need to be like, yes, like if you can add some resistance training in there, great. But being active and moving your body is a type of resistance, right? Mm-hmm. So when you do that, you activate your muscles and you put a stress on your bones, which causes them to get stronger, right? You get stronger when you have more muscle.
Right. And then if you have a fall, you're more able to sort of stop yourself, aren't you? And have,
your bones are also stronger.
Gotcha. That's true. Right? So no one has any questions right now. I've got one more I thought I could maybe throw out there. Like, let's say I am a 38-year-old male. I'm carrying about 30 extra pounds, don't have a morning erection, tired all the time, not off during my Zoom calls. Thank goodness nobody sees me because I'm taking my video off. And I really want more energy and I'm going to come and work with you. What's reasonable to think in terms of time frames before I'd actually feel some, significant differences in my energy?
That's an awesome question. Like 2 weeks.
Wow.
Like super fast.
Crazy.
And that's not because I'm giving you supplement. That's not the reason why you're getting more energy. I'm not giving you caffeine. I'm giving you some concrete things to start working on right away that we know give you more energy. And I say 2 weeks, but like I only say 2 weeks because usually that's the time that the second visit is happening with my patients. And so they say like on their 2 week mark, I feel better, but it sometimes is earlier. Okay. Wow, so, to what you're saying there, like I fall asleep in Zoom meetings in the afternoon. We're going to be working on nutrition and what is in that lunch. Okay. What are you eating throughout the day? When are you eating it? Right. Because some people, they go, I'm going to try intermittent fasting and they don't eat for 20 hours in the day because they read something on the internet, but it's not right for them. It's not right for them, but they're trying it. Which is great in one way. They're taking initiative for their health, but also it may not be right. So we need to look at like, when are you eating? Maybe we need to shorten that window down and look at that content of food. The erectile difficulty piece, like I alluded to in the presentation, like we got to do some blood work, see what's going on. Like this could be a testosterone issue, could be diabetes, could be thyroid, could be all of the above. But let's get some of those markers tested because maybe it's not. Right? Maybe this is a psychogenic type of issue, which I'm seeing. I see this in younger men between 30 and 40, where they're having these issues. Their blood work looks okay, but then we get into something else and something deeper. And then it's like a performance anxiety type of situation, which is, a little bit different, but as a segue or a little,
And I can't really comment on that part of it, but I'll just take your word for it. So how's that? Okay, well, last chance. And if anyone has any questions tonight, go ahead and type them in. Otherwise, I'm just going to say thank you so much, Dr. Rory. Yes. It's really fun speaking with you. I love your pacing, and I really want to have you back again.
Thank you very much.
That would be great. And we have your website listed here as well. So Dr. Rory Gibbons. It's right here in the chat for you all to read there. So .com, and you can reach out if you'd like to set up an alignment visit with Dr. Gibbons. I think we're really fortunate in BC to have access to naturopathic doctors. And I'm just going to do a small little pump for all of you because we have a really great national healthcare system. It's not perfect, but when you compare it to other countries, we're very fortunate. And if you have an acute injury, you go to the ER, it's really awesome. What we really don't do well are prevention and chronic disease. And I think to have an ND in your pocket alongside your GP is really amazing. And a lot of us have extended health benefits that will cover that as well. But when you consider what we spend on other things, just really consider it if you've never done it, because I've had some great experiences and I think you may as well. So I'll leave you all with that tonight. So thank you all for coming. And again, Dr. Rory, thank you so much for your time. We really enjoyed it. All right. Yes. We'll see everybody soon.